This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, a man who's previously fled a war-torn area urges the government to allow even more refugees into the country. The city's become a popular conference destination, why industry professionals expect that popularity to continue. And we find out how some local students are attempting to break down cultural stereotypes. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Rebecca Dupree. As civil war tears Syria apart, locals are calling for New Zealand's refugee quota to be permanently doubled. Immigration Minister and Dunedin MP Michael Woodhouse has announced a special emergency intake of Syrian refugees. But one resident wants to see the government go further, having escaped a war zone for the city.
They're a common sight around the globe. Refugees seeking asylum as civil war forces them to flee their homes. The major humanitarian crisis has Dunedin residents joining international calls for more action. This panel's been put together by the local student group for Amnesty International, involving a former refugee who entered the country after escaping a war zone.
It was absolute chaos, and tanks rolled up into the cities and absolutely annihilated everything with no regard for human life. People that would try to flee would be killed.
This panel's the first part of a push by university students to lobby the government to double its refugee quota. International Relations Professor Robert Patman says it could be a smart move, as the quota's not changed in decades, especially as condemnation of the government's reluctance to take more refugees gains traction.
And I think people have been deeply moved by the appalling images that we've all seen on our TV screens of refugees who've left desperate circumstances and in some cases found themselves behind barbed wire in the countries they'd hoped to find a new home in.
While Dunedin's already got a small refugee population, Allwash wants to see it increase. And he says residents can aid refugees by offering them places to stay.
I think if you can be able to provide your home even for a day or until somebody can get back on their feet, then you make they owe you their lives.
Local students involved with Amnesty International say the refugee crisis is becoming more humanised. They'd like to see a refugee resettlement program developed in Dunedin. But first, their focus is on helping to open New Zealand's borders. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
The City Council's operating deficit for the last financial year is worse than budgeted, and staff are considering asset sales. The Council's operating deficit for the 12 months to June was just over $1.5 million. That's about $6 million worse than budget. It's partly due to the loss of value on investment property. Council staff are considering asset sales to accelerate debt repayments and improve accounts. They're assessing the current value of assets and returns on investments to determine whether sales are worthwhile. A report is expected later this year. One asset in line to be sold is the Wall Street Mall, which has dropped in value, although it is still returning a profit. Local leaders are welcoming an increase in commercial tourism as a result of the city hosting more conferences. Business events are worth millions of dollars to Dunedin's economy every year, and their value is expected to grow.
City councillors take stock of the local business tourism sector, hearing from Enterprise Dunedin staff about the latest statistics on conferences the city's hosted and their value to the economy.
So we're actively going out, working with professional conference organisers and giving them a taste of what Dunedin has to offer.
In the last financial year, Enterprise Dunedin staff were involved in securing 16 conferences for the city to be held over the next few years, bringing almost 4,000 delegates into town and generating more than $5 million for the local economy. And they're not alone in scouting business.
The hotels and the tourist attractions are very generous in giving us a contribution in contra, so that they assist us in hosting people.
The renovated Dunedin Centre and recently built Forsyth Bar Stadium are attracting more conferences. In the last financial year, business events brought just over $18 million into the city. Enterprise Dunedin's working on securing another 14 conferences, worth about $8 million.
I can confidently say probably about 7 of those were probably going to come to the city, but people are mindful when they are still talking to their AGMs and boards. So often it is a bid process. Often it's we're down to the last 2 or 3. So I would say at least 7 of those 14.
The average delegate spends double what a recreational visitor does and tends to stay longer, which is why the council spends about $70,000 a year attracting business events. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
A Mosgiel house is one of the country's top 100 listed by registered master builders. The property is a finalist in the firm's House of the Year competition. It's within the category for new homes worth between $1 and $2 million. No other Dunedin properties have made the cut for this year's contest. The Mosgiel home is one of 8 finalists from the Lower South Island, and results are due to be announced in November. Local Muslim students are sharing their cultural knowledge in an effort to break down societal stereotypes. A range of information and artwork is on public display for Islam Awareness Week, and exhibition organisers hope it will spark a dialogue within the wider community.
Local university students are experiencing different cultures. It's Islam Awareness Week and members of Dunedin's Muslim community hope to create awareness and understanding of their faith. Vice President Hashmit Lafray says he wants to present an alternative narrative to what's currently propagated about Islam.
We try to build bridges with other communities and in order for them to get an interaction with us and for us to get an interaction with them.
The theme for this year's Awareness Week is Mercy to All the Worlds. Organisers are staging film screenings, talks in this 2-day exhibition to showcase the diversity of Islamic races and cultures. And Lafray says the week provides a forum for the student population and the public to quench their curiosity about Islam.
Instead of behind the door conversations, have it publicly and with other people in order to inform each other.
Students want to put right what they say are misconceptions about their culture. And Lafray says one topic in particular is generating plenty of questions.
The real topical thing is ISIS, so we have had a few people talking about that. So really what they are doing is by any standard inhumane. So we're trying to represent that whether or not they are Muslim or not, what they're doing is incorrect and objectionable at every level.
This event is one of the largest on the local Muslim society's calendar, and Lafray says the group's active on campus year-round, with members happy to provide opportunities for residents to learn more about foreign ways of life. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, a big change is in store for ID Dunedin Fashion Week, and we take a look at the DCC's plan for eradicating pests from our parks and reserves.
We can't guarantee what people will do once they leave here, but we can sure as hell try to make it better. We're making headways, especially with our offenders going out and the integration between our industries and the outside industries, like the real stuff. Society just needs to give these guys a chance.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
She's 21 metres long with a 6.7 metre beam. She can support diving, seafloor mapping and sampling, deep water measurements, and has onboard laboratories. She has a range of 1,000 nautical miles, which means the Polaris 2 can take your studies further than you ever thought possible. My name's Will Raymond, and this is My Place in the World.
Take your place in the world.
Big Orange, for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
Quality Tailors, the alterations specialists, adjusting alterations made to measure. Quality Tailors, fitting Dunedin for over 15 years. Call 477 8028 162 Princess Street, one shop down from Darling Street.
Wake up time and another frantic day ahead for Haraway's oat singles. With 3 delicious flavours in each pack, they don't last long with this family. They're so convenient and tasty, and they're ready in seconds. Haraway's oat singles are the ideal breakfast or snack on the run for today's busy families. And there's a flavour to suit everyone. Beat the rush and make sure you get your favourite flavour. Haraway's oat singles. Try new Kiwi Favourites Caramel Variety Pack.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
Welcome back. The country's wholesale trade and manufacturing sales have slipped in the last quarter. Manufacturing values are down more than $1 billion compared to the same time last year. That's a 5% drop, reflecting a downturn in the international manufacturing industry. Local foundry staff face redundancy as a result of declining markets. The country's wholesale trade is down $71 million. That follows a smaller reduction in sales for the previous quarter. And on that note, let's take a look at today's markets. The NZX 50 has closed the day up 38 points. It's now at 5,610. The ASX 200 is up 54 points. To the exchange rates, and the Kiwi dollar is up against the greenback and the yen, but we are down against the other currencies we monitor. The main woman behind ID Dunedin Fashion Week is stepping aside after 15 years. Susie Staley has nurtured the annual event from its humble beginnings to international acclaim. And she's here to discuss the end of her tenure as ID Committee Chairwoman. Good evening.
Good evening.
So what's brought you to this decision?
I think I'm on record now as saying I'm tired and grumpy. So, well, 15 years is a long time, so it's a huge part of my life. I think I need to hand it over to someone else and get on with the rest of my life.
Tell us how ID began.
Well, I wasn't involved in the first two, so it's actually going to be in its 17th year. It started in a bar, group of designers and Teresa Stevenson, councillor, thought it was a good idea, and then it went from there.
How has it evolved over the years?
The first year I was involved was the first railway station show, and you can see it's gone from one event, one show, to a week-long event, 1,600 people each night at the railway station, the emerging designers, a collection of events throughout the week.
Which aspect of the show are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the fact that you can't but fail to notice it's on in Dunedin. It changes Dunedin. You know, a lot of blokes come up to me and go, "Oh, you do a great job," and someone actually once said to me, "Oh, 3 more sleeps." I had no idea what he was talking about. But it really sets the town alight. People notice it's on.
How much of your year was spent on ID organisation?
Well, there's never a time you're not organising it. That's not a joke, but the day we finish, journalists usually ring me up and saying what's happening next year. But it's a very tight time frame, and so there would be no week, literally, even when I had a sabbatical last year in Paris, and every few days I was on my email. I also go and see people when I'm away deliberately for ID. That's all in my own time.
But you do have a main line of work that's not fashion.
Exactly. I'm a lawyer. I have a practice in town with a business partner, Rachel Cardoza, and I'm completely self-employed, and I have obviously a life in directorship circles as well.
Who's going to be taking over from you?
Well, the committee, which has had a lot of transition, a lot of the same people, some new members, and Sherry Lucas will be the chair, or is now the chair.
Are you confident that you're leaving ID in good hands?
Of course I am. I mean, we had a funding crisis as usual, but last year we've built our reserves extremely well.
What are the key challenges in staging this event each year?
Money, timing. It's a very short time frame, and of course we've gone through things like the Christchurch earthquake, an economic recession, Rugby World Cup, Cricket World Cup. They all suck sponsorship dollars, and it's in Dunedin. You know, Auckland gets a lot of publicity, but we are a very large event for Dunedin.
What do you think the future holds for ID?
A lot, but it's all dependent on keeping it exciting, keeping it new, and having a point of difference.
Outgoing ID Committee Chairwoman Susie Staley, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, City Hall organises a program of night shooting, and we find out which language is being celebrated by way of our Oriental ties.
Do you want support for your breathing? You are not alone. In New Zealand, over 600,000 people have some form of breathing difficulty, especially with the high pollen season in New Zealand. Puff Plus is an excellent natural product developed to support lung function and breathing difficulties. Puff Plus is so effective, you get a no questions asked money-back guarantee on the first purchase. Give it a go, you have nothing to lose. Call now 0800 502 402. Take as directed. If symptoms persist, see your healthcare professional.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
I understand now how economics can affect global warming.
And I found out how grass growth in New Zealand affects Fashion Week in Milan.
I can even tell you how smartphone technology affects the survival of mountain gorillas.
Sorry.
Because at the Otago Business School, it's not just about the world of business, it's how business affects the world.
I'm Kim. Michaela.
David. And this is our place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product, and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Big Orange for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
Quality Tailors, the alterations specialists, adjusting alterations made to measure. Quality Tailors, fitting Dunedin for over 15 years. Call 477 8028 162 Princess Street, one shop down from Darling Street.
Obviously, as the Department of Corrections, our primary focus is on ensuring public safety. Corrections facilities or prisons are almost self-sufficient communities in our own right. For some prisons, putting in interventions, giving them options as far as interventions go that are designed around making them more positive members of the community when they return to it.
Welcome back. Dunedin runner Mel Aiken has won another national title. She was first across the line in the Masters section of the New Zealand Road Running Championships held in Tauranga. Aiken also gave younger competitors a run for their money with the third fastest time overall. She ran the 5 kilometre course in 18 minutes flat. Aiken also recently claimed the New Zealand Masters cross-country title. She works as a police inspector in the central Dunedin station. Pests are being removed from the city's parks and reserves this month during a program of night shooting. The City Council has contracted the work to a local pest control company. Night shooting will take place in local cemeteries, parks, sports grounds, reserves and public gardens. Golf courses and public domains in the city's outlying suburbs will also be cleared of pests. The work is part of the Council's regular maintenance program. 18 areas are being targeted throughout the district. The shooting is restricted to possums, rabbits and hares. Contractors expect to operate in the early hours of darkness. Dunedin's Oriental ties are being celebrated as part of Chinese Language Week. The local range of associated events includes a program of activities at the Dunedin Chinese Garden, and staff are excited about sharing their knowledge of Chinese culture and language with the public.
Making slow, deliberate strokes. Dunedin Chinese Garden staff practice calligraphy as part of their annual Chinese Language Week program. And Visitor Services Officer Li Wang says there's growing interest in the varied Chinese language.
Chinese language and culture has become increasingly more interesting to the public, and lots of people have indicated their interest of learning it, and I think this is a really good chance for the people to come and celebrate it while at the same time know more about the culture and also learn a few very useful, interesting Chinese phrases.
Wang says Kiwis are often put off from learning Asian languages because of the written characters. But she says in comparison to some Western languages, Chinese dialects such as Mandarin are relatively easy.
I think lots of people are put off by the writing because the characters are really hard to learn and to master, but the grammar is really easy. Yeah, it's not like we don't have verb conjugation rules like that. We don't have tenses. So it's not as hard as most people think.
The Garden's week-long program also includes daily movie screenings, selected to highlight different aspects of Chinese culture, building on what residents already know from the city's long history with the Chinese.
Dunedin is a special place, especially for the Chinese community. Going back to the gold mining period, lots of Chinese people had contributed a lot to this region.
The city's close ties to China are constantly being strengthened predominantly through its sister city relationship with Shanghai. Mayor Dave Cullers in China at present, leading a local delegation to explore collaborations in business and education. And Wang says the international bond is one of many reasons for locals to broaden their knowledge, not only during this week but throughout the year. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. A university student who escaped war in his home country is among locals calling for the government to double its refugee quota. Conferences are set to bring millions more into the local economy each year as Enterprise Dunedin works to grow business tourism. And local Muslim students are breaking down cultural stereotypes with an exhibition and various events for Islam Awareness Week. Well, it's time now to find out what's going to be in Wednesday's Otago Daily Times, and we're joined by Bruce Quirry. Good evening.
Good evening, Rebecca. The Department of Conservation says that a dog attack on a sea lion at St Kilda is only the latest in a series of serious violent attacks on the endangered animals. 9 children rehearsing today at a singing contest at the Civic Theatre in Invercargill have fainted and been taken to hospital. The owner of a inner city Dunedin bar has been arrested over complaints of intimidation. There's more this week from the Public Health Conference being held in Dunedin. In Fresh, we meet a chef who's working out of a food truck in Dunedin. And in sport, we'll be catching up with the All Blacks who are training just ahead of the World Cup.
Oh wow, there's heaps in the paper tomorrow. Thank you, Bruce. Time now for local weather.
Is proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn's Puff Plus.
And here is tonight's City View. It's taken of the Kitchener Street helipad. And around the city at 3 o'clock, well, as you could see from that picture, there was sunshine out there. 10 degrees in the central city and 12 for both the Gardens and the Taieri. Very pleasant. To the situation, and yet another cold front and trough of low pressure will move over New Zealand from tomorrow and Thursday. More cold southwesterly airflow is expected on Friday. So to some of the main towns on the lower South Island for tomorrow. Northerlies with rain later for Gore and Invercargill. Rain all day for Tiana with northerlies there. And just some cloud increasing for Alexandra. Northerly winds, of course, a high of 16 degrees there. For Queenstown, rain later in the day with northerlies, 14 degrees. Northerlies with cloud increasing for Oamaru, Wanaka and Twizel. And all those towns expecting 15 degrees. And Dunedin tonight, fine with a low of 4. Tomorrow, high cloud increasing with north to northwest winds, 14 degrees expected. And on Thursday, fine at first, but showers and cold southwesters will develop in the morning, then ease in the afternoon, 12 degrees. And finally, to the Otago Pallet Fires tidal and fishing information, and high tide tomorrow afternoon is at 1 o'clock. Low tide follows at 10 to 8. And fishing conditions will be fair tomorrow. The best time to have your line in the water will be at around 9:20 in the morning. And that's all from the team here at 39 Dunedin News for Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.